So coming up, 3 blinding tracks from Robinson, and I love Robinson, absolutely adore Robinson. I've had him in session a few times, been to see him probably more times than anybody else in recent years. And I'd like to give you this. It's a Scandinavian chocolate bar as a token of appreciation. It's called a
plop. Is that really appreciation?
No, it is, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Yes, no, because otherwise I could even use spunk.
Oh, nice. Oh, right, okay.
Which is another chocolate bar. Anyway, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Because seeing you, I mean, it's quite interesting seeing you without a band and doing it completely stripped down. What do you prefer?
I really don't know. I mean, I prefer, like, you know, it's a lot less stress, but you know, it's obviously a lot more exciting having, you know, my band around me and having everyone vibe off it. It's always more exciting, but you know, it's kind of liberating at the same time, knowing that, you know, it's all down to you and you don't have to, you know, because quite often when you're on stage or you're giving any kind of performance, like, you can't just let yourself be free because you're always listening to all of the other instruments, you know, making sure that everything's as it should be. And so it's liberating that, you know, you don't have to worry about any of that. So, you know, there's pros and cons to it. You know.
There are 2 albums. There's England's Bleeding, which was your debut, and Under the Ballroom. Are you already working on the 3rd?
It's Beneath the Ballroom.
Sorry.
It's alright, sorry. Under the Ballroom.
Sorry, Beneath
Same
the Ballroom.
thing, yeah. Sorry, what did you ask me?
Are you working on the 3rd?
I am, yeah. I'm going back in the studio the end of this month, January, and I'm recording an EP, and I'm trying a different sound this time. Like, the first album was more, you know, I was on a really small budget, and so I had to use, you know, everything that I could play and all the instruments that I had. So it's a very small production, and I could only do certain songs. Second album, I just had a little bit more money, and so I just had more freedom. So I just, like, chucked everything at it and went for a big production, everything I've always wanted to do. And so this this EP is, you know, I like to think it's me growing my sound, and rather than a bigger production or a smaller production, it's somewhere in the middle, and I'm really excited by it. You know, I really feel like I'm beginning to find myself. You know, it's I'd be arrogant to say I found myself from album 1, and it's probably going to take 5 albums till, you know, I find who I am.
It's interesting though, because you're doing that in the public eye, aren't you? That's
yeah.
finding yourself.
Yeah. It's it's quite intimidating actually, and you know, you're basically stripping off naked and, you know, running down the streets of London, like, with all your glory for everybody to see, you know, warts and all, and you know, that is intimidating, but you know, it's something you've got to do, you know.
So when you were there in Worcester as a lad, what suddenly made you go, that's what I'm going to do, I'm going to be a musician?
Well, it's funny, I used to do all these drawings of me, like, so I used to have a spike when I was younger, like just spiky hair, and I was 9 years old, and I used to do all these drawings of me playing the clarinet and I'd draw loads and loads of heads in the crowd, like thousands of heads. And I knew at the time it wasn't right, you know, with this kid playing clarinet. I was like, it's not right, it's got to be, you know, something cool like the guitar. But there's no such thing as me telling a short story, but basically, like when I was in class 4 at primary school, I went outside of the lesson to go to the toilet, and it was in one of these old Victorian schools. And I went out the classroom door and I closed it behind me. And it was like Narnia, you know, going through the wardrobe. And there was this silence. And suddenly I heard the most beautiful sound that I've ever heard in my life. And it was the sound of the clarinet. And I went straight home and I said to my mum, I've heard the most amazing sound and I want to play the clarinet. Can you pay for me to have lessons, basically? And Mum said, it's really strange that you say that, because my grandpa died when I was 3, and he left in his will I didn't know that he played clarinet, and he left in his will his clarinet for me to play, and just coincidentally, you know, I turned out to want to play the clarinet, and so that's where it started. And you know, had
Did you
this
still
love
have
affair.
that clarinet? Was it there in the attic or something?
Yeah, it was round at my uncle's place, just sat there gathering dust on
Waiting
top of
for
the piano.
you.
Yeah.
That was meant to be.
Yeah. So I still play that clarinet now.
Wow, that's a gorgeous story.
Yeah.
And I bet he's up there thinking, thank God.
Do you know, I really hope he's not, because I do a lot of things that I'd rather he didn't see.
No, I think they have an off button, don't you?
I hope
so.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've seen, because I work in London, so I see a lot of you performing in London. Have you taken yourself out further afield?
Well, yeah, we've been went to LA, and that was really exciting. And what's that place called? It rains all the time. Oregon. We went to Oregon, Portland. Beautiful place.
I'd love to go there.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Well, you know the Goonies.
Yeah.
Well, that's. I was about 2 hours away from there.
Really?
It's really cool.
But also great bands from Portland.
Yeah,
really.
really.
Decemberists and
there
Dundee
is.
Warhols and people.
Yeah. No, really great place. I've stuck to mainly London. I mean, you can play 1,000 gigs a year in London and still have places to play. But I ventured up to Liverpool to do one gig there, and that was amazing. I love the Liverpudlians, and I can't wait to go back there. It's so much colder than down here, but but the hearts are so much warmer, So I really want to go back there, and Worcester is my hometown, and I've got a lot of support back there. But mainly London, and I'm looking to go to place of the Blondes. What's it called? Sweden.
Oh, right.
And Sweden and Germany and France. Yeah. So that's next on the books. Yeah.
Well, you've enjoyed your plops.
Well, I should eat it, shouldn't I?
Robinson, thank you very much indeed.
All right.